Hi, we're Steve and Audra. Over the past year, we've been converting our Ford Transit to a tiny home on wheels and doing some traveling while also keeping up with normal life. It's now been exactly 1 year since we bought the van. This week, we're taking some time to answer some questions about our van life experience so far. We hope you'll find it interesting or helpful as you come along for the ride. Hi guys, we're taking a break from our van build, going to find a quiet spot to answer some questions about our van life experiences so far.
It's hard to believe that it's been a full year since I flew up to Pennsylvania and drove this van back to Florida. It's been quite an adventure and we've loved having you along with us.
We thought we'd take some time to answer some questions from our own personal experience, since it's so different between each van lifer. We all do it differently, from the kind of van we buy, how we build the van, where we travel, if we're full-time or part-time, what we encounter along the way. It's just so different, between each person. So we hope that our experience will be helpful for you or interesting.
Just a reminder that if you haven't already, please subscribe. It's free and it's the easiest way to help us out.
Alright, so we found a quiet spot. We're going to take some time to answer some questions. Before we do that, we want to get into the backstory a little bit of the van and just who we are.
We have a bunch of notes here written down, so you may catch us referencing our little cheat sheet here from time to time.
Right. So, just so you know the timeline, it's, as we mentioned, it's been a year now since we bought the van. But before that, we started doing a lot of research back in 2018. We started doing research online just into the whole van life possibility and what we might be able to do if we got a van. And then in the spring of 2019, we started looking for a van to buy. And then,
in March,
a year later,
March of 2020, after much research and exploring of options, we actually purchased a van. I actually flew up to Pennsylvania to get it, and I drove the van back to Florida.
And it was so exciting after all of that time of research and looking. I mean, a whole year is a long time to be looking. It was so awesome. So as soon as he got home with the van, I think it was pretty much that night we took it for a little spin to kind of give it a test. But then I think a day or two later, we actually started working on it. We started cleaning everything out. And then since then, we've been building out. It's been a whole year, but what has happened is we have taken breaks along the way for some real life stuff, but also just to travel. We've done some short trips initially, just a few days, but we've gone on some longer trips, I think as long as 4 weeks. And so we've kind of just interspersed the build and travel and life, and here we are a year later. I think it's important also to say that we are currently part-time, which is probably obvious because we're obviously not living in our van when we're building everything. We don't know if that'll change or not if we'll go to full-time, but I think that is important to realize as we share our experience. I'm sure that it's very different for some people who are doing it more full-time.
Right.
But at the same time, those longer trips that we've done can somewhat be similar to that full-time feel. So hopefully, regardless of if you were looking to do van life part-time or full-time, our experience and what we have to share could be helpful to you, we hope. We haven't said too much, I guess, about our background and who we are either, and maybe we'll share more about that in the future, but there are a few things I think it's worth stating. We have maybe said a few of these things already, but we've been married for 23 years, which seems crazy. We spend time together pretty much 24/7.
Right.
We're self-employed, we work from home, we travel together, we do everything together, and so far we haven't killed each other. We actually like being together, right?
Yep.
We really love to travel. I mean, that's why we're doing van life. We enjoy nature, observing wildlife. We love the beach, especially this guy here. But
I'm a beach bum.
But we like seeing everything else too, the mountains, but we're so looking forward to seeing, all those different things.
We are very budget conscious. If you've been tracking with us this far, you'll see that we do quite a bit of what we call dumpster diving. We've been given a lot of material from our friends and neighbors, which we are very grateful for, and we try to make the most use out of that as we can. We just try to watch our pennies and
yeah, I think what's important to us is we feel like it's important to live within our means and to prioritize like how we spend our money according to our priorities. Like, you know, what's important to us. So travel's important. So I feel like we're pretty good at making choices and sacrifices sometimes to be able to afford certain things, and then we forego some other things.
And another big thing about us is we don't have a lot of building experience.
That's
and
true.
To say that we don't have a lot is being very generous, because we don't. I own a handful of tools that I have accumulated over the years, and we've just figured it out. You know, we watch a ton of videos, probably just like you're doing right now, and we seek advice from those that have done it.
Right.
And you know, you try your best and you work within your skill set.
And I would like to think that I'm artistic and crafty. I think that's helped a lot in the whole process of, you know, planning out a build and kind of implementing. But I would say that we complement each other pretty well with our skill set and our personalities. And overall, we just try to have fun together. We're trying to enjoy this whole van life thing, and we hope that it's helpful to you guys and that you enjoy coming along for the ride with us.
Well, it's a 2019 Ford Transit 250 high roof. We believe it was a rental in its previous life. Had about 32,000 miles when we bought it.
And what Steve likes is it came with cruise control. And something that I really wanted when we were looking at the vans was to have 2 rear windows. So this one did, and that was a good thing that we didn't have to install them ourselves. Something else about how we built it is we have a fixed bed, as you can probably see here behind us, so we can store our bikes below. We do not have a shower. We don't have an extended version. It's just the standard length van. So no shower, but we do have our own DIY toilet. And then we've made some upgrades to the van. We have the Max Air Deluxe vent that's in the roof. We have a CR Lawrence T-vent window here on this side, which opens, is a little bit nice to have. And then on the other side, we have an AMA half slider that opens and lets a lot of breeze through. So right now we actually have that open, and it's pretty nice sitting here feeling the cool air. We do have a van tour. The van is not all built out yet, but we do have a tour that shows how we've been using it, because we have some things in that are kind of temporary, and we've been traveling and using it, and maybe you'll find that interesting if you want to see more about the windows and other details.
Well, when we were first married, about 23 years ago now, we would travel and take vacations primarily through camping. The old-fashioned tent camp. Audra's dad had a huge, it was Army?
No, he had it when he was in the Army.
Okay.
It was just a big old canvas tent.
Canvas, I mean, bulky thing.
My friends called it the circus tent. It filled up almost the whole trunk.
That's how we would vacation and travel.
It's low cost, but you have to face all the extremes, the elements.
Right.
Rain.
So we would go to the ocean a lot. We lived in Pennsylvania at the time, so we would go to Ocean City, Maryland, Cape May, New Jersey, Ocean City, New Jersey from time to time.
We did upgrade our tent along the way, but that was actually worse because we got more rain in when we got up with our newer tent.
So anyone who's tent camped, you know that it's a little bit of a setup, and you're roughing it a little bit. Which is fine when you're young. It's a lot of fun. You get caught in a few rainstorms, and you wake up and your mattress is floating. Those fun experiences. And then a few years into marriage, we took our first cruise, and we really fell in love with cruising.
Right.
We got just an amazing deal on our very first cruise.
Several of them. Cruising really has given us a lot for the money, a big bang for the buck if you look and you find the right cruises.
Right.
But the itinerary, obviously is set. You go where the ship takes you. and you're on a schedule, so you go to an island and you only have a day. It's really limiting. So, and then eventually you go to all the itineraries around the area. We went to the Caribbean a lot, and eventually there's like nothing else to do.
Right. So then, I don't know, what was it, about 15 years ago, we looked into our very first RV.
Oh.
And it was a Class A.
The biggest kind.
And we were just kind of kicking the idea around for a while. I don't know how serious we were about it.
We got pretty serious. We had a lot of research. We were pretty close. We had one picked out, but then some things came up and we put it on the back burner. So then fast forward to, I think, 2018. We did a big trip for our anniversary out west. We flew into San Francisco and drove up the coast to Seattle. We rented a car and we absolutely loved it. But the downside was that we had to book in advance a hotel room every night. We had to be, to a certain point every day. And that really restricted our travel a lot. We had a long itinerary of things we wanted to do, and there was just a lot of things we had to cut out because we just didn't have time. So that got us thinking. We got home, we started researching, actually, we needed a new vehicle. We started researching SUVs. We thought, well, we can get an SUV, throw a mattress in the back. It's a little bit more comfortable than a tent, and we can drive around at our own leisure, our own pace, and see the country that way. But as I was looking on YouTube, researching that, I started seeing all these van life videos. And a whole new world of opportunities opened up. And so we started thinking about it, and
I had joked for a long time about living in a van down by the river.
we did.
The old Chris Farley bit on Saturday Night Live.
And I stuck my nose up at the idea.
And she took a while to come around, but then I think through all the videos you were watching, you were realizing that people were doing some amazing things with these vans.
Totally different. And a van you could stand up in. I didn't want to be hunched over in a van. And
right.
So that got us going and researching, and here we are.
What I enjoy most about van life is the freedom and flexibility that it gives you. As we mentioned before, our previous vacation experiences were through either tent camping or renting a motel or hotel room. And van life gives you the freedom to go wherever you want, and the flexibility to say, you know what, we really like this area, or we'd like to see more of this area, so let's spend another day here. Whereas before, we'd have to get reservations for either a campground or, again, a motel, a hotel, and so your schedule is kind of forced a little bit to keep moving or whatever's next on the itinerary. Where, again, van life gives you that kind of flexibility to kind of enjoy an area, or if it, on the flip side, if you're not having fun, or the area is just not what you like, or you're having bad weather, you
Go
can
somewhere else.
You can put it in drive and drive somewhere else.
Yeah. And even though our van is not finished and we don't have all the necessities, it's way better than tent camping. So people ask us, how we like this or whatever, but I mean, compared to that, it's amazing. When it rains, you're not getting wet. It's quieter, private. There's just a lot.
Yeah, I often respond to that question to say this is like, it's like
Taj Mahal,
Taj Mahal of tent camping, because you've got your bed, we've got a regular mattress on it, so you're getting a great night's sleep. You're protected from the elements.
We have a 14-inch mattress that's really comfortable.
So yeah, I mean you're living in style again compared to tent camping.
Yeah,
especially.
Something that I really like about it is that we pretty much have everything we need right here with us whenever we go anywhere. So, our clothes are all right here, our toiletries, anything. One nice thing is, if we get stuck in traffic or we're just out somewhere and we don't want to leave, well, we can go to the bathroom right here in our van.
Another thing I like about van life is the minimalism. The older I get, the more I realize stuff just kind of bogs you down. Stuff just needs your attention. Stuff, needs maintained. So again, the older I get, the less I'm interested in all the extra stuff in life, all the extra toys.
He's not kidding.
Yeah. So that's what I love about van life. You're dealing with, I don't know, roughly 60 square feet of space. So it really forces your hand to say, do I really want this thing anymore? And because if you do bring it into the van, you've got to find room for it. You're going to have to perhaps shuffle it around. So you quickly realize, what you need and what you don't. And that kind of minimalism is very appealing to me.
It's kind of amazing what you realize you actually thought you needed and don't. I thought we needed a lot more stuff, but we're learning we don't need all that. So another thing, we joke, we just like being in the van. We like driving in the van. We like it better than our car because we're higher up, we can see more, but we even tell people that we enjoy just sitting in our van in our driveway. So I don't know, maybe the novelty hasn't worn off yet, but we just really love our van.
Right. It's spacious, as you can imagine. Got the high roof. I'm almost 6'3", so I can stand upright back here in the van living area and don't have to worry about hitting my head. When we're driving around, I have lots of elbow and knee room, which is nice. We're used to, our other vehicle right now is a Saturn Ion, and it's very small. So, and we've taken some really long trips with that car.
And we've packed it full with stuff.
So it, I mean, you're bunched in. So this is quite a bit different experience to have, again, that elbow room and being able to stand up and move around.
Something else that is nice for us, we've had cats, and in the past when we've traveled, we limited how long we went away because we asked somebody to take care of our cats. Number one, our cats are not as comfortable with other people, so we felt bad leaving them. And then we enjoy our cats, so we like to have them with us. So having a van has made it really nice that we can just bring them with us. And the second thing that kind of goes hand in hand with that is with COVID, now having this van, it's enabled us to go spend time with family. Some of you have seen some of our past trips and know that my dad is battling cancer, and he's up in New York, and we're down here in Florida. So it's hard when you're going through that and when you can't travel to see someone. A lot of people can't go see their loved ones because they can't fly or have to deal with all the quarantining, whatever. Something that's nice with being in the van is we're able to travel and limit our exposure to other people so we can actually go to those other states and spend time with our family. And being longer, I mentioned, when we go there longer, I mentioned, being able to have cats with us. We're able to take our cats when we go for those longer trips. So it's kind of a win-win for both of those things. The last thing that I would say is just meeting other people on the road. I love that our van is a conversation starter. Like, we'll pull up maybe kind of along the beach somewhere and we'll have all kinds of people stop and just want to talk to us about it.
Yeah, people aren't bashful when we have the door open, especially. They'll come up and they'll peek in and they'll be like, "Whoa, that's cool. What are you doing?" And they want to know your story, and
that's fun, I think.
It is fun, and I don't mind chatting with people about it, and
right. If we don't want to, we can just close the door and go somewhere else or whatever. But
it's a neat way to meet some people.
And the other thing is running into other people who have vans. It's really exciting when you're driving and you see somebody else who has a van and you can tell it's built out. And we haven't had a lot of opportunities, but we've had some to talk to some other people with vans, and I think that's just kind of a neat thing because you share that experience, and it's just a rich experience when you talk with them.
Well, Audra touched on this a little bit earlier. Sometimes it's just kind of chilling out, and it could be in like our own driveway. It's fun just to kind of sit there, and it's almost like a second home. You experience life in a different environment.
But Steve's nature is that I think you like to chill out more in general. Like when we go to the beach, you just like to sit there for hours. And right. I think the same applies when we're on vacation or traveling or whatever.
Right.
So
we were in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and one of the neatest experiences for me was just to find a stream that we could pull up next to, you know, get out the beach chairs and just sit and hear the babbling brook and do some work on the laptop or read a book. That's always fun.
Yeah, and I think hand in hand with that kind of goes back to what I said before about everything you need is right here in the van. Like that day when we pulled up by the brook, it was nice. Steve was sitting outside, but I kind of got sick of sitting out there and I started getting tired, so I just came in, the doors were all open, and I laid down on the bed and I took a nap. And it was so nice to fall asleep here in the brook and everything else, and then to get up, and I was hungry, make some food, do whatever we need to do. So I think that was a really nice moment. For me, so far with all of our travels, traveling in the Blue Ridge Mountains has definitely been a highlight. I love being up high, and usually we're beach people, but traveling, I really enjoyed the mountains and being up like above the clouds or seeing the clouds moving through. And another moment in addition to that was we found an overlook, Cowie Mountain Overlook. I don't even know if it was on our itinerary. We might have been on our list, but we decided we were at the right place at the right time for sunset. So we just pulled up, we opened the door, the cats were on there, a little cat tree that we had here, and we just really enjoyed the evening, and it was beautiful and just really relaxing. So there was that moment, and then when we were in the Smoky Mountains the same trip, we saw a bear up close. And
I mean, right outside
right.
the driver door, like
right.
10 feet max from us.
So obviously, you know, when we're traveling, we want to see wildlife. We love wildlife, but we had been hiking and coming down the trail, people were mentioning that they had seen this bear on the trail, and that kind of made us a little nervous. But we were also disappointed when we got to the bottom and we hadn't seen a bear. So as we were leaving, I'm pretty sure we saw the same bear. They had said it was kind of a smaller bear. It was right there. And we didn't capture it on video of what we were doing behind the scenes, but you guys probably would have laughed. Steve was in the driver's side with the window down trying to get video of the bear. And I literally climbed up behind him with my camera trying to get pictures of the bear. It was pretty funny, but It was so awesome, and we could have just stayed there longer and seen it. It wasn't bothered by us at all. It was just kind of foraging there in the shrubs.
One of the other neat things about that trip was it was during the summer and it was pretty warm and humid. And kind of on a whim, we asked one of the park workers, I don't know if he was a park ranger or whatever, we said, hey, do you know of any swimming holes in the area? And he was like, oh yeah, you want to go 3 miles this way and look for this little guardrail thing
where the guardrail stops.
And yeah, I mean, these super vague directions. So we were up for the adventure, and
it took us a while to figure out.
A while. We kind of drove up and down this one road, and we were like, okay, this has got to be where he's talking about. And it was a little backwoodsy, not terribly sketchy, but still, like, you don't know where you're at.
But there were some signs too, several signs that said no parking. So we finally found a spot where you could park.
So I was a bit nervous, thinking, all right, you know, either some hillbillies are going to come, we're going to become their lunch, or
I think we were concerned to leave our van.
Yeah,
too.
or we're just going to go for this random hike and come back and see that the van's been broken into or missing entirely.
Kind of a remote area.
But it turned out to be exactly what this guy said, and it was quite a bit of a hike.
I don't know, but it was really steep. It took us longer than we
really
thought.
Steep hike to get to, and the spot was just gorgeous. And like I said, it was hot and humid that day, so it was this cold mountain water, and it felt so great to.
It was freezing.
To get. It took a little bit to get in, but once you were in, it felt so refreshing to get play in the water.
And we got our bath.
Yeah.
And you had one other favorite when we were up in Maine.
Oh.
Well, actually Massachusetts. Our New England trip.
Lobstering was such a treat for me. Wasn't something that I was aware of. I don't think you were aware of it either until we got there.
That we were going to do that?
Yeah.
No.
So it was such a surprise.
Our family was able to arrange it with a friend of theirs.
My brother and his family had a friend, and they took us out lobstering, and it was just so cool. I had such a blast. And what's kind of funny about that is I can't stand lobster, but I love the experience of being out on a boat and watching how they do things. It was a really neat treat.
So some of these experiences would be possible without having a van, but the van definitely made it possible. We wouldn't have been able to travel this last fall up to New England with COVID probably without the van.
Right.
And then, you know, seeing the wildlife, it just was that much nicer because we had the van to take us to those places. So those are definitely some of our highlights.
We may touch on this later, but I think the van, again, Audra mentioned we just have a standard length van. It's not an extended, and it's, you know, it's not a Class B or Class A RV. So we are small enough, we're nimble to get to these spots that we've been talking
Right.
about. Whereas, you know, a bigger unit, you may not be able to, it certainly may not be able to find parking.
There are some places that we definitely went, like in the Smoky Mountains, some of the popular parks where there was no place to park if you were a bigger RV.
So I love that we are nimble enough to, you know, get into these spots. Watching some other videos that people will go do some serious off-roading, and that's, I don't know that this van is equipped for that, nor am I personally equipped to take the van in certain spots. But still, I mean, like Audra said, it's small enough where we were able to do these fun little excursions.
Yeah. So we're changing gears a little bit with this one. We do have a toilet in our van. It's DIY. We did make a video that showed, well, we actually have videos that show most of these things we're talking about, but the video does show how we actually made.
I'm actually sitting on it right now.
Yep, it's multi-purpose. It functions as a chair and a toilet. We wanted to do things a little differently than what we've seen. A lot of people do a fixed bench that opens up and there's a toilet inside, but we wanted to be able to move this around wherever we want it in the van. So it's worked out pretty well. But we've had it for months and we actually have not used it yet. So what we have used instead,
We, right now, we're just using an applesauce container, and
for Steve, I have a mayo container.
yeah, and so we use this for number one, and it's very convenient, very handy, and can store pretty easily.
Maybe ladies might be concerned about using a container like that. There are some things that you can buy, like the Go Girl or whatever, that's more like a funnel thing that's supposed to make it easier. I find no problem using that whatsoever, though. It is worth saying that it can get stinky. We dump them often.
Very stinky.
Yeah, we dump them often. I mean, it's not at the end of the world, whatever, but we also clean them often, rinse them out. I think you use bleach sometimes, there's whatever, we've tried different things, but
Yeah, I've learned that to carry a little container of bleach can be a lifesaver. Because when these things ultimately become full and quite stinky and you find an appropriate place to dump them, the container itself can have quite a residue
nice
stink
aroma.
to it. So a few drops of bleach can go a long way. You pour some water in, rinse it out, and you're good to go.
But it's really convenient, and I guess that's part of the reason why we haven't used our toilet. You know, it's easier to use those.
Yeah.
So.
And then as far as number two goes, like Audra said, we haven't had the reason to use it. We
contemplated using it just to try it. We know other people who do something similar, but we just haven't needed to.
We just use your standard public restrooms, rest stops.
We're kind of picky about it. I like to use a nice bathroom.
Restaurants,
So we have
right.
found, like if we spend the night at a Cracker Barrel, we often go in the Cracker Barrel in the morning when you get your coffee or whatever. Grocery stores are nice. A nicer gas station, like a Wawa or something like that, where we're already going to maybe get coffee or something. So we don't have a shower, and I think that's actually been okay, but what we've learned in place of having a shower is we use wet wipes occasionally. If we go on a longer trip, we either try to go to, like, stay with friends or family, visit someone who might have a shower. On our first trip when we went to the mountains, halfway through we went to a campground, specifically, really only because we wanted a shower. And then Steve mentioned the swimming holes. That's one way in the summer that, you know, you sweat more or whatever, so we just go swimming more often.
I think for me, it's a bit of a learning curve to realize, all right, you know, I'm used to showering every day type of thing. To realize, all right, do I really need to shower every day? And you kind of learn when you crossed over into the stinky zone, and you know, it becomes imperative that you take care of, you know, your hygiene. So yeah, for me, it's during the summertime. It's always fun to find the swimming hole or the creek or something and kind of splash around a little bit. That's always one way of handling things. Audra mentioned the campground. I've heard rumor that you can even talk to a campground about a day use.
Yeah.
We haven't explored that option yet.
We did do that when we were at a state park, though.
We did. We took advantage of their facilities. We'll leave it at that.
And I think that's okay. I don't know. I think it's okay. I paid to get in. So.
Right. So yeah, you know, outside of that, Audra mentioned the wet wipes, and you brush your teeth.
So we don't have
like that.
Yeah. So another thing for us is we actually don't have a sink yet. That's one of the next things we're putting in. So that is a little bit inconvenient, but we figured out a way to work around that. We always have jugs of water for drinking and for hygiene purposes. So because we don't have a sink, like for brushing our teeth, we basically drink water, put our toothbrush in our mouth, brush, and then we spit into something like this. And then, like, if it's night, in the morning we dump it out. So it's a little bit of a pain, but we know it's just temporary. And I mean, even if it wasn't, you know, you make it work. But that's been okay. So for teeth brushing. For my hair, since we don't shower quite as often, I really feel like if you shower less, it's almost like your body like learns to respond differently. Like I feel like the less often I wash my hair, the less oily it seems to get, like over time. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but when I've not been able to have a shower, I have tried dry shampoo. I'm not really thrilled with it. A lot of it seems to be really strong, like smell. You've noticed that. I had a spray first, and that was horrible. I have found that a foam dry shampoo seems to work better, but I really haven't used that a lot. If worse goes to worse, I put a hat on, or we find a place to shower or whatever. When we have a sink, that'll be nice because I can actually wash my hair in the sink then.
Right. For guys, it's a lot easier. So when we're at a restroom, a public restroom, or a restaurant, I have found that it is quite a gift when you go into the restroom and there is a private stall that also has a sink in there.
The things that make you happy when you're in van life.
When you're in van life, living life on the road. I have found that that's kind of cool because you can take care of some things. I mean, you can rinse your hair out at least in the sink.
And the other thing I think is just hand washing and like rinsing dishes. We use our jugs of water for that and hand sanitizer. Yep. So we've made it work. I mean, you feel like you could almost make anything work that you need to.
I'm going to have to use the cheat sheet here. We have an EcoFlow Delta 1300 solar generator.
And we also have a flexible solar panel that is 100 watts, I believe, from Renogy.
Right. And you will have seen in one of our last videos, maybe 2 videos ago, where we actually broke it out for the first time. Right. We hooked it up and we're trying to get our feet wet as far as that's concerned. Most people will put them up on the roof of the van, and I'm sure we'll get there at one point, but right now we've been able to keep our EcoFlow Delta charged mostly when we're driving. There's a 12 volt hookup for that keeps it powered up, and so far it's been working out pretty well. It keeps us going. Obviously we're still in that kind of learning curve with it and trying to figure out what exactly we want to power. We know that we definitely need to power some laptops from time to time. We just picked up a regular dorm fridge that we've been experimenting with to see if we can make that work.
Right, versus a 12 volt.
Anytime you turn on the inverter for it, though, it really starts to drain down the power pretty quickly. So you gotta be smart about it.
I think as far as solar and your needs for power, it really depends on how you do things, how you travel. We typically drive around a lot when we travel. When we slow down and take our time more, that's when it's harder. We kind of drain the battery more. Just some specs about the Delta. It's a 1300 watt with an 1800 watt inverter. Then we've talked about the solar. The max out solar input for it is 400 watts. So we could add 3 more panels. I think we'll at least probably do 1 more and see how that goes. The nice thing about the Delta is that it can fully charge when you plug it into an AC outlet in about 2 hours.
Your normal standard 110 outlet.
Right.
Those
So
charge up in about 2 hours, which is nice. We haven't done it yet, but if we absolutely had to, we could take the entire unit. I don't know how much it weighs, 30 pounds?
About 30
pounds. So it's not terribly big.
We thought we could put it in a bag and take it in somewhere like a McDonald's or a Starbucks and just plug it in and charge it if we needed to. The other reason why we have this kind of setup, we thought it was just simpler than a lot of people build out their systems with, you know, different components. This is all in one unit, and because we do still have our own home, we thought it'd be nice too if we ever lost power there to be able to use it. We can take it in and out of the van, but it just kept things simple, and the cost seemed to be good. We read a lot of reviews online, and we'll talk about that more coming up probably in some future episodes, but so far it's working pretty well and we're happy with it.
We have a smartphone. We have one smartphone that we use, and we also carry with us what we call a dumb phone. It's an old-time flip phone. So technically, we do have 2 cell phones.
If we ever need it.
We use the flip phone, the dumb phone, for emergency purposes, or if we ever are doing different things and we need to get in contact with each other.
But usually we're together.
Usually we're joined at the hip. And we do everything together. So we use the smartphone for hotspot, for Wi-Fi, and when we need to do computer work and hop online.
We have a plan through Metro PCS, which is now part of T-Mobile. It's okay. I think we pay about $45 a month. Is that right?
It's actually $40 a month.
It's supposed to be unlimited, but we noticed that after we had used a certain amount, like the 4G goes down to like 3 or 2. I don't know. We have internet connection issues then.
Right.
So it's been working okay though so far overall. And then the other thing we do is if we need to do work on our laptops, like more than just a little bit at a time, or we like need to upload a video or something, we find, do what we can to find Wi-Fi. We have found some funny places. Like one night we were at Walmart and we realized that a car dealership nearby had their Wi-Fi just open. So we just drove closer to them and sat in their parking lot for probably a good hour using their Wi-Fi. But obviously, most people know you can go to other places too, like a Starbucks or a McDonald's, or a library is a great place.
Right.
So that's what we do to make it work. And we also discovered Surfshark, which is a secure VPN, which keeps your connection secure if you're on a public network. So that's something we definitely recommend to protect your information. So first of all, we really try to keep our costs down, so we don't go out to eat much. Do you want to talk about, well, I'll talk first about, we have used a cooler in the past to keep all of our food cold, just restocking with ice as we've been able to. And then as Steve mentioned, we now have the refrigerator that we have used just a little bit. We've only done 1 trip so far with it, that we use some on the power generator and just ran it as a regular fridge and freezer. And then when our battery started getting down low, we started just using it as a cooler, which actually worked great. We put ice in. We already had ice frozen from when we had been running it. And then what we did is when the ice started to melt and we had more power again, we turned the fridge on, made more ice, and then the ice lasted us. So we had this kind of cycle that worked.
Right.
And we'll have to kind of test that out as we're going forward. But that's how we're keeping our food cold. And then Steve loves cooking.
Yeah, this probably could have been in the earlier question about what I love about van life, but we have a old camp stove, propane, 2-burner camp stove, and I love being able to get that out, set it up wherever. We have a little folding table that we can set up, and we've done it in a few different places now. Or if you find a nice park and you use a picnic table. And I love the flexibility of it, and again, the minimalism of it, and being able to kind of set up and cook your meals. And we've had some very nice meals. It's not like we are eating cereal every day.
We do eat cereal.
Right.
When we're not.
So I enjoy that aspect of exploring and traveling and van life.
So we usually use the camp stove when we can find a nice spot. So like in the morning, sometimes if we just need to get on the road, we'll have cereal. But if we have time to go to a park or something, that's when we'll break out the camp stove. Or if we find a park when we're traveling in the evening, or if we're staying put somewhere for longer. When we're kind of more at a faster pace or just want something quicker, we typically do cereal in the morning. We do sandwiches, salads. Let's see what else. And we try to have like healthy, easy snacks. Probably some not healthy snacks also, but we do try to have like some dried fruits, some nuts, some fresh fruits and vegetables that are easy, like an apple, snap peas, green beans, things like that that are just easier. Then we also supplement by going to the grocery store. You had that great idea when we were traveling up in New England to get a rotisserie chicken, and that was perfect because we had it warm in the van, and then we were able to use it for sandwiches the next day. So I would say kind of deli stuff, like some prepared salads, sometimes some different meat kind of stuff, whatever. But
listening to other van lifers, they say you'll go to the store a little more frequently than you're used to, and that's true for us too, and it makes sense. Like you only have so much storage room, and if you're running low on ice or running low on power, and you can't run your refrigerator, you'll go to the store, maybe 2-3 times a week.
And that's okay because, as we said, the grocery store is a good place to go to the bathroom and also for getting ice.
Right, and they may have free Wi-Fi, so you tackle a lot of things at once sometimes.
So that's nice. And I forgot to mention, the fridge is actually something we picked up on the side of the road. We thought it wouldn't work, but it did, and that's why we're using that versus a 12 volt. A 12 volt fridge is so much more expensive, so we're trying to make this work for now.
We have found Cracker Barrels to be just a godsend. When we were first kind of getting into this, it was one of my bigger concerns about where do you park. A lot of people do what's called boondocking, where you just kind of pull up on the side of if you're in a town, street parking, and you just sleep there overnight. Some BLM land, Bureau of Land Management land, where people will stay there. So I just was unfamiliar with it all, and perhaps a bit uncomfortable with just your typical town boondocking. So stumbled across Cracker Barrels.
I think it's still technically boondocking, but it's
technically
not quite the same.
Right. I mean, you're not hooked up to anything, but the beautiful thing about Cracker Barrel is they actually welcome it, and you'll find it on their own website. They welcome people to come and spend the night in their parking lot, and it's just, for me, it's so comforting knowing that you got a place to stay and that you're welcomed, and
you're not going to get a knock on the door in the middle of the night.
Right. These restaurants usually close about 9 or 10 o'clock at night, so I mean it's vacant for the most part, except for whatever any other boondockers that may be there. Usually
it's pretty quiet. They're usually set back kind of remote.
Right.
Like the driveway's kind of long to get to the restaurant, and then there's usually trees around and whatever. Once in a while that's not the case. There's been like maybe 2 where it's been kind of more loud and we haven't liked it as much. One that had like an alarm going all night, right, next door.
Right.
But we turned our fan on and we couldn't hear it, so it was fine. Right. And then we know there's the bathroom in the morning. Steve usually will often get coffee.
Right.
And it's just we feel like it's a safe place to stay.
Right. Of course, there's also Walmarts are a popular area. That can be hit or miss. Some Walmarts, they don't allow overnight parking. Others do. So I highly recommend that you always call ahead, unless you don't care about the middle of the night knock on the door.
Right.
But yeah, I recommend always calling ahead. Any other places that we?
Well, occasionally we stay with friends or family. That's always nice. So kind of a bonus. You get to see your friends or family and have a nice place that is kind of quiet and you're welcome. And then we have done boondocking a couple times. We shared our first I would say it's the first major boondocking we did. It was just kind of spur of the moment when we were over on the Gulf side of Florida, at the base of a bridge. We had driven by a couple times, noticed some RVs and stuff, but didn't really think much about it. And then we were driving back, and we were going to kind of drive a little out of the way to go to a Cracker Barrel. We didn't know where else to go. And we saw all these RVs and vans just parked right along the water. So
beautiful spot.
Yeah. So we did that 2 nights, and that was really nice. And then we have found a couple spots right along the beach. and done that. And I think that's about it. I imagine as we travel more out west, and there are more public lands like the BLM, we'll do that more. We had planned to do it more when we were in the Blue Ridge Mountains and Smoky Mountains. I had done research, but it was kind of overwhelming trying to figure that out, especially with COVID. There were different areas of the park that were closed, and then we didn't have good cell service, so it was hard to navigate and like find the spot. So when we were there, we ended up every night just going back to the Cracker Barrels. And it's fine. It's not like it really matters where you sleep at night. You get up and go to the next place in the morning. And
right. Again, the beautiful thing about van life, about our van especially, is we know that we've got a very comfortable bed, and you're going to get a great night's sleep, get your battery recharged, and then you can face the next day and do what you need to do.
Yeah. So
again, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching this video in particular, and it's one of our longer ones, no doubt. Again, if you haven't already, please subscribe. It's free, and it's the best way to help us out. If you've already subscribed, again, comment below, let us know you're watching. It means the world to us. It puts gas in our tank and helps keep us going as far as the YouTube side of things. We appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Make sure to join us next week for part 2 of our van life Q&A, where we'll share about insurance, traveling with cats, must-haves, and other recommendations for van life, and more. See you then.
Well, it's hard to believe that it's been 1 full year since I've flown up to Pennsylvania and driven the van back to Florida. What else am I supposed to say? Well, it's a little hard to believe that it's been exactly a year since I flew up to Pennsylvania and drove this van back. We love sharing this video with you. It's hard to believe that it's been a year since I flew up to Pennsylvania and drove this van back. We've enjoyed
to Florida.
It's hard to believe that it's been a full year since I flew up to Damn it. Well, it's hard to believe that it's been a full year since I drove. Well, it's been hard
to believe it's been a full year.
It's hard to believe that it's been a full year since I flew up to Pennsylvania and drove this van back.
To Florida. Pennsylvania to Florida.
Nailed it.
Just
a reminder, if you haven't already, please subscribe. It's free, and it's the easiest way to help us out. Each subscription helps us to bring more good content to you every day. It's hard to believe that it's been a year since I flew up to Pennsylvania and drove this van back. We've loved having you with us on the journey. What?
To Florida.
Ugh.
Hi guys. We're taking a break from our van build to...
Yeah, not so easy, is it?
I need to find a spot. We thought we'd take some time to answer some questions, since everybody that does van life does it a little differently. From what kind of van you buy. We thought we'd take some time to answer some questions about our own experience, since it's so different between every van lifer, from what kind of van you have, where you travel, if you're full-time or part-time. Let's try that again. Hey guys, we're taking a break from our van build to try to answer some questions about van life. Hi guys, we're taking a break from our van build to take some time. Nope. It's been 1 year now since we bought our van, and nope. Alright, so here we are. We found a quiet spot. Before we take some time to answer questions, sorry.
We're going to answer a few questions. The first pertain to van life in general, and then we'll talk about specifics with the van build process.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that first part.
Okay.
And then
That was the very first take, folks. It's a little choppy at first. Okay.
I said about, so maybe don't say we'd love to hear from you. Maybe we can use your line first or something.